Oak Island has been at the center of one of the world's greatest mysteries. A small island off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada, it has drawn treasure hunters, explorers, historians, and adventurers from around the world. Many people believe that deep beneath its surface lies an unimaginable treasure, hidden away by pirates, secret organizations, or even ancient civilizations. Generations of searchers have come and gone, pouring millions of dollars into the hunt, but Oak Island has always kept its secrets locked away. Strange pits, wooden structures, mysterious tunnels, and unexplained markings have made the island a puzzle that refuses to be solved. For years, the treasure was thought to be a myth, but now everything has changed. Something extraordinary has been discovered, something that could not only be worth more than $120 million, but could also change the history we thought we knew. The story begins with two brothers, Rick and Marty Lagina, who dedicated their lives to solving the Oak Island mystery. Rick was first captivated by Oak Island when he was just 11 years old. He had come across an article in a magazine describing the legend of the money pit, pirate gold, and hidden secrets buried beneath the island. That article planted a seed in his heart, and from that day he made a promise to himself that one day he would travel to Oak Island and uncover the truth. His brother Marty, however, had a different outlook. Marty was a practical man, a businessman by nature, and while he wasn't fascinated by legends the way Rick was, he saw Oak Island as more than just a story. To him, it was a challenge, a project that could prove whether centuries of tales were true or false. Together, the two brothers combined Rick's passion and Marty's practicality, and what began as a childhood dream soon turned into a lifelong mission. When they finally decided to chase this dream, it was not just a family adventure. It became a massive undertaking that attracted the attention of historians, scientists, engineers, and even television producers. Soon, the world was watching as their search was broadcasted, and millions of people became invested in the mystery. Year after year, season after season, Rick and Marty's team dug deeper into Oak Island. They faced failure after failure, machines breaking down, pits collapsing, dangerous floods, and countless dead ends. Yet with each disappointment came small discoveries, ancient coins, wooden platforms, strange artifacts, and even evidence of tunnels and traps designed to keep people away from whatever was buried deep underground. These small clues gave them hope, suggesting that Oak Island was not just a myth. Something had definitely been buried there, and whoever hid it went to extreme lengths to keep it secret. The deeper they went, the stranger things became. Garden Shaft and Smith's Cove revealed mysterious wooden structures, carefully placed as if guarding something. Metal objects with odd engravings were found, markings that didn't look like ordinary tools, but something far older, perhaps linked to ancient groups or secret societies. And then came the discovery of an old map, covered in symbols, strange drawings, and pirate markings. This map pointed directly to certain locations on Oak Island. For Rick, this was the biggest breakthrough in years. If they could decode the symbols, they might finally be able to unlock the exact spot where the treasure was hidden. Hope surged through the team once again, and they pressed on with renewed determination. As the search intensified, stories of famous pirates like Captain William Kidd and Blackbeard resurfaced. Captain Kidd, one of the most notorious pirates of the 1600s, was said to have hidden a treasure worth millions before he was captured. Some of his final words hinted that his wealth was buried somewhere along the Atlantic coast. His crew's testimony described wooden structures and elaborate traps set to protect the treasure. These details matched the tunnels and platforms found on Oak Island. Blackbeard himself once declared, "My treasure is hidden where no man will ever find it," a statement many believe was about Oak Island. Could it be that the treasure of not just one but two legendary pirates was buried here? The evidence was stacking up, and Rick and Marty's belief grew stronger that Oak Island held more than just a story. It held history's greatest treasure. But the journey was far from easy. Every time the team seemed close to a breakthrough, disaster struck. Water traps flooded their work sites, ancient tunnels collapsed, and heavy machinery malfunctioned in mysterious ways. Some even claimed it was as if the island itself was fighting back, determined to keep its secrets hidden. During some excavations, team members reported hearing strange noises. whispers deep inside the tunnels, unexplained sounds that could not be traced. Though these eerie moments were rarely shown publicly, they added to the growing sense that something more than just gold lay buried beneath the ground. The real turning point came when the team used advanced technology like sonar and radar scanning. These tools revealed signals of large metallic objects buried deep underground. One signal in particular was so strong that Rick believed they were finally on the verge of uncovering what they had spent their lives searching for. Excitement filled the camp, but so did fear. The deeper they went, the more dangerous it became. Traps, ancient tunnels, and heavy machinery were always threats.
Collapses and flooding threatened their safety. Yet despite Marty's warnings to slow down, Rick pushed forward, insisting they had come too far to turn back. And then, after years of struggle, the moment finally came. As soil and rock were cleared away, a faint glimmer of gold appeared. At first it was just a sparkle, but soon more golden pieces began to emerge, coins, jewelry, and precious metals that had not seen the light of day for centuries. The team was overwhelmed. Rick's eyes filled with tears as he realized his lifelong dream was coming true. Marty, usually the practical one, stood speechless, staring in awe at the treasure before them. But just as quickly as the joy appeared, it was snatched away. Out of nowhere, government officials arrived on the island. Their sudden appearance shocked the entire team. Cameras were turned off, digging was ordered to stop, and many of the most mysterious artifacts, including maps and documents, were confiscated. Rick and Marty were left stunned, unable to understand how the government had intervened so quickly. What was supposed to be the greatest triumph of their lives had suddenly become a moment filled with suspicion, secrecy, and silence. The sudden arrival of government officials on Oak Island was like a storm that nobody had expected. The team had waited for years to find the treasure, and in a matter of minutes, their moment of triumph was overshadowed by confusion and secrecy. The officials moved quickly, surrounding the excavation site and ordering the crew to stop all activity immediately. Cameras were switched off, and the live documentation of that historic moment was cut short. The viewers who were following the journey only saw glimpses of Rick and Marty looking at the treasure. But the most important part, the true discovery, was hidden from public eyes. The most shocking detail was that the officials didn't just stop the excavation, they also confiscated several artifacts. Among them were ancient maps, strange documents, and mysterious objects covered in symbols that no one could understand. These weren't just valuable because of gold or silver. They hinted at something far greater, something that might have rewritten history itself. Marty was furious. He had poured millions of dollars into this project, and now outsiders were taking control of the most important find of his life. He openly questioned the officials, demanding answers, but he was met with cold silence. All he was told was that it was a matter of national security. Rick, on the other hand, reacted differently. While Marty's anger boiled over, Rick stood quietly, his eyes heavy with thought. His silence wasn't weakness, it was understanding. He knew at that moment that what they had uncovered was bigger than pirate treasure. Gold and silver could be shown to the world, but documents and artifacts tied to powerful groups or hidden knowledge about history were another matter entirely. To Rick, the government's sudden intervention confirmed that Oak Island held secrets too dangerous to be released to the public. News of the discovery quickly spread across the world, but what reached the public was only half the story. Media outlets reported that gold and silver had been found, but no mention was made of the confiscated documents or artifacts. Social media exploded with speculation. Some people were convinced that Captain Kidd's legendary treasure had been found. Others argued it was Blackbeard's hoard. But many believed the truth was even bigger, that the treasure belonged to a secret organization, perhaps even connected to the Vatican, the Knights Templar, or another ancient brotherhood that had hidden knowledge and wealth for centuries. On platforms like Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube, debates raged day and night. Hashtags about Oak Island trended worldwide. Some users posted theories with historical references, others shared alleged photos of the treasure, while skeptics dismissed the entire story as exaggerated. Memes also flooded social media, turning Marty's angry expressions and Rick's quiet stares into viral images. But behind the humor, one serious question remained. What exactly was discovered on Oak Island, and why was the government so desperate to hide it? The truth, according to whispers from within the team,
The treasure found was far more shocking than anything the media revealed. When the treasure was uncovered, it wasn't just gold and silver coins. There were large chests filled with ancient jewelry, precious stones, and silver bars that glittered under the light. Some of the coins were so old they dated back hundreds of years, proving that the treasure had passed through many hands across Europe before being buried in Nova Scotia. But the most mysterious items were the sealed wooden boxes. Inside them were documents written in languages and codes that experts had never seen before. These papers described powerful empires, secret societies, and even maps of places that didn't match modern geography. If these documents were authentic, they could change everything we know about history. The discovery shook Marty deeply. For him, the treasure was always about proving that Oak Island's legend was real and recovering the wealth hidden underground. But Rick saw something greater. He believed the treasure wasn't just a collection of riches, it was a key to understanding a hidden history. His famous words at that moment, "This is just the beginning," showed that he believed they had only scratched the surface of what Oak Island was hiding. The government's reaction only fueled the mystery further. Locals whispered that officials had been monitoring the excavation for months, waiting for the right moment to step in. Some even claimed that unusual activity had been seen near Oak Island at night. Strange lights on the water, boats appearing and disappearing quietly, and figures moving in the dark. It seemed as though someone didn't want the Lagina brothers to succeed. Every time a major discovery was made, new obstacles appeared, as if an invisible hand was trying to keep the truth buried. The team, however, didn't give up. Despite the setback, they continued to search, convinced that more secrets remained hidden underground. They turned to advanced technology again, radar scans, deep drilling, and even sonar imaging of the island's underground chambers. Signals kept pointing to large metal objects buried even deeper than the gold they had already uncovered. It was as if Oak Island had layers of history stacked on top of each other, each layer holding its own story, waiting to be told. Meanwhile, theories grew wilder. Some historians argued that the Knights Templar, a medieval order rumored to have carried immense wealth and sacred relics, had crossed the Atlantic and hidden their treasures on Oak Island. Others believed the treasure was tied to the lost manuscripts of ancient civilizations, documents so powerful they could rewrite the origins of human history. A few even suggested connections to the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant, relics that, if found, would be priceless not for their gold, but for their spiritual and historical significance. Every new theory only added fuel to the fire. For the viewers who had followed Rick and Marty's journey from the start, Oak Island was no longer just a mystery about treasure. It was about truth, power, and secrets that had been deliberately kept from the world. Each artifact found was like a breadcrumb leading deeper into a story too big for one island to contain. But the danger also grew. Digging deeper into Oak Island meant facing traps that had been set centuries ago, flood tunnels designed to collapse, hidden shafts that could swallow heavy machinery, and unstable ground that could cave in at any moment. The team had already faced near-death experiences when pits suddenly filled with water, forcing them to flee. With every step forward, the risks became greater, and Marty often questioned if it was worth continuing. Rick's answer was always the same. They had come too far to stop. And so the battle of passion and practicality, secrecy and truth continued. The world had seen the glimmer of gold, but what lay beneath remained a mystery. The confiscated documents hinted at secrets bigger than anyone had imagined. Was the government protecting national security, or were they hiding truths that could change everything we know about the past? Rick and Marty's journey had opened the door to these questions, but the answers were still buried beneath the soil of Oak Island. Even after the officials took control of the first treasure, Rick and Marty refused to see their dream crushed. The island had teased them for years, showing small fragments of history while hiding the bigger truth. Now that they had proof that real treasure existed, their determination grew stronger. They gathered their team again, discussing their next steps. Marty was cautious, warning that the government's involvement could end everything, but Rick reminded him of why they started. For Rick, it was never about the money. It was about solving the mystery that had haunted Oak Island for more than 2 centuries. The team returned to areas that had shown strange readings on their radar scans. One spot in particular stood out. It was deeper and more dangerous than the others, but the signals suggested that something massive lay underground. Unlike before, this time they worked more quietly, avoiding too much outside attention. Heavy drilling equipment was brought in, and once again, the ground of Oak Island shook as machines dug into the earth. Weeks turned into months, and the deeper they went, the more evidence of man-made structures appeared. Wooden beams, carefully placed stones, and even traces of metal suggested that someone long ago had built a complex underground system. One day, while clearing debris, the team made a discovery that left them stunned. Buried within the soil was a perfectly preserved chest made of dark, ancient wood. It was sealed with iron clasps, and the lock looked like something from centuries ago. Carefully, they lifted it out and opened it, expecting more gold or silver. But inside, they found something different. There were scrolls, dozens of them, wrapped in faded cloth and tied with strings. Each scroll was covered in writing that none of the team could recognize. Some looked like ancient symbols, others resembled medieval Latin or Greek. The realization struck Rick immediately. This was knowledge, not treasure. Whoever had hidden these scrolls wanted them protected, perhaps even more than gold or silver. The team carefully documented the chest and its contents, but this time they made a pact to keep it secret from outsiders until they fully understood what they had. Unlike the first discovery, they did not alert the press or allow news crews to film. For once, Oak Island's secrets would stay in their own hands. Marty called in experts who specialized in ancient languages and cryptography. When the specialists examined the scrolls, they were shocked. Some of the writings resembled old religious manuscripts, while others looked like coded maps. There were references to hidden places in Europe and the Middle East, suggesting that Oak Island was only one part of a much larger story. As the experts worked, rumors began to leak. Whispers spread through the community that Rick and Marty had found documents connected to the Knights Templar. The Templars were known to have fled Europe in the 1300s, carrying vast amounts of wealth and possibly sacred relics. Many believed they sailed across the Atlantic long before Columbus and hid their treasures in secret locations. Oak Island had long been suspected as one of these hiding places. The scrolls seemed to confirm this theory, with symbols matching those found on Templar graves and fortresses in Europe. If true, it meant the Lagina brothers were not just chasing pirate treasure, they had uncovered evidence of a lost chapter in world history. But with discovery came danger. Late at night, Rick noticed unusual movements on the island. Boats without lights circled the shore. Strange figures were spotted watching from a distance. Equipment was tampered with, and once an entire drilling machine mysteriously broke down overnight despite being in perfect condition the day before. It became clear that someone else wanted the treasure and the knowledge it contained. Rick warned his team to be careful, to never work alone, and to guard their findings with their lives. The situation grew even more intense when the experts finally translated part of one scroll. It contained a map, not of Oak Island, but of another location across the ocean. The writing suggested that the treasure of the Templars was divided into multiple parts, hidden in different corners of the world to protect it from being stolen. Oak Island was only one vault. The discovery shook the team. If this was true, then the gold they had already found was just a fraction of a much greater treasure scattered across continents. Rick's words echoed again. This is just the beginning. Marty, however, was torn. He had invested everything into Oak Island, and now the evidence suggested that the real prize was somewhere else entirely. Should they leave the island and chase the trail abroad, or should they keep digging, convinced that more remained beneath their feet? The debate split the team. Some wanted to follow the map, believing it could lead to relics beyond imagination. Others argued that abandoning Oak Island now would mean walking away from centuries of hard work. As this internal conflict played out, pressure from outside forces grew stronger. The government's eyes were still on them, watching every move. Some officials returned, warning Rick and Marty not to disturb classified historical artifacts. The wording was strange, since when was history classified? The warning only deepened the mystery. What was it about these scrolls and maps that made them so dangerous? Despite the warnings, the brothers pressed on. Their belief in Oak Island's secrets was unshakable. They expanded their search to new areas, digging deeper into shafts that had been abandoned by earlier treasure hunters. And there, hidden under layers of rock, they found something that stunned even the most skeptical team members: a massive stone chamber sealed for centuries. The chamber walls were carved with symbols identical to those on the scrolls. This wasn't just a hiding spot. It was a vault, deliberately built to safeguard something of immense value. Inside the chamber, along with more coins and gold bars, they discovered relics unlike anything they had seen before. Ornate crosses, jeweled daggers, and pieces of armor that seemed to belong to knights of the medieval era. These artifacts weren't pirate loot, they were European, dating back hundreds of years before Oak Island was even discovered by settlers. This was undeniable evidence of transatlantic travel long before Columbus. The treasure wasn't just money, it was proof that history had been rewritten and the real story had been buried underground. Rick stood in awe, realizing that Oak Island was not just a mystery of wealth, but a secret about humanity's past. The chamber was a time capsule, left behind by people who had crossed oceans and hidden their legacy in a place no one would expect. Marty, though still focused on the financial value, couldn't help but admit that this was bigger than treasure. They were holding evidence that could change textbooks, challenge governments, and rewrite the history of civilization.